Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension. How's everybody doing today? Waiting for a few more people to come in the room. I see some familiar names as always. And hope you all are well and are having a good, great New Year's and had a great holiday season. So today is the first webinar of the year, and we have over 110 events scheduled for this year. And I'm extremely excited for this webinar because I think it's the perfect way to start out the year. So today you are joining us for the Lucid Living Workshop featuring River Kayla Moon, and a little bit about what we're going to go over today. Lucid living is the recognition that our physical life experience is a lucid dream from the soul's perspective. Today we'll explore the dream time from the Aboriginal perspective and how this relates with parallel realities and our multidimensionality. We'll open up our perspectives of reality to recognize the more flexible and malleable fluctuations reality actually has and how to increase these occurrences. River will also share personal examples of experiences she's had to ground the concepts deeper into your cellular memory. So as we go on today, if you have any questions at any time, if you have not been a part of our platform before, you're going to be asking your questions in the Q&A area. If you want to chat in the chat box, go ahead. And River will also go in there and take a look at that towards the end of the presentation when she can go over the questions and respond to you. So please remember that. And a bit about River Kayla Mason. We actually know each other in person. We a lot of these speakers all over the world I haven't met before, but River we met at Body Studios in Anaheim, and she was there with her partner selling tinctures, and we had this connection, and it's kind of grown ever since then. And we really, especially with my wife Soul, she has a connection to River, and we wanted to do something together. So we actually scheduled this event quite a while ago, and it's kind of cool how a lot of our events we have the intention like almost a year back, and then so like 8-9 months later it comes to fruition. So it's really beautiful how that works out. And the synchronicities about this is I feel lucid living is really a great way to start out this year, how we can bring this information and this awareness into our daily lives, and rather than just lucid dreaming and going at dream time, but bringing that down here and manipulating in a positive way, maneuvering the reality that we live in lucidly. So River is the CEO of Wise Woman of Light, a platform through which she provides intuitive readings, energy healing, consciousness expanding programs, and retreats. She co-founded Divine Nature Living with her partner Ian, which is a holistic health business that provides herbal tinctures, magnesium spray, crystals, and holistic health education. She's a certified trance channel, Reiki practitioner, and empowerment coach. She's also ET contactee that specializes in grounding spiritual knowledge through practical action and taking and daily living. So you guys are in for a treat today with this amazing presenter. Let's go ahead and bring River Kayla on. You there?
Hi, yes. Thank you, Neil.
Hey, River. I am so honored and blessed that we're finally doing this together. So thank you so much.
Thank you, too. I'm super excited to get started.
It's all yours. Take it away.
Okie dokie. So to introduce myself a little bit more, yes, I am River Kayla Mason, and one of the things that I love to do and recently started is a group coaching program for spiritual women, spiritually awakening and awakened women. So this is something I'm really excited to be offering, and we dive into all these different spiritual principles. And a little bit more about me. I've had a lot of really expanded experiences. And of course, life is always a roller coaster. And so it's really fun to integrate, all of ourself in this experience. And so that's really what this Lucid Living workshop and webinar is all about. It's about bringing home all of these different aspects of who we are. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And I have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to walk you guys through. So here we go. Okay. So today we are going to cover, the dream time from the Aboriginal perspective. We're going to talk about parallel realities and how when we really understand how parallel realities work and the mechanism for the way that we live this physical life, and how our dreams are also different parallel realities, we can really start to get a wider picture, a broader vision as to how all of this works together.
River, just really quick, if you want, you can full screen that, and that'll be better for everybody to view. Just start it like you would normally start a presentation. I think if you right click on it, maybe you can click start from beginning or something like that. Or are you able to do that in Google Docs? So click the menu button on the actual Lucid Living area, the actual slide. Okay, I don't know if you can do full screen through that. Is there a way to actually present it like it's a slideshow, or does it only show up like this?
I think it only shows up like this.
Yeah, if you refresh and everything, that won't do anything. So you just need to. Okay, I guess we'll just go with this then. No worries. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So let's do this. Okay. So then I'm going to also talk about the two different dream types, and then we're going to go into tool sets for increasing lucid dreaming and lucid living, and how to incorporate more lucid living into your experience. So the dream time. This concept of the dream time originated from the Aboriginal culture, and we see this very commonly through many different indigenous earth cultures. The Native Americans, the indigenous of the Amazon is a very common awareness in a lot of our earth cultures. So let's take a look at the dream time. So the dream time is just as real to the Aboriginals as the physical world is. The physical world and the spirit world are really this one whole picture. And from the Aboriginal perspective, the dream time is really this melding pot between the physical and the non-physical worlds. And they believe that before we're born, when we sleep, and when we die are when we return to the dream time in our spirit form. So understanding the connection between the dream time and our physical reality as one whole concept. From the oversoul perspective, we are living this physical reality experience as a dream, because when we incarnate, we come knowing that there's going to be certain kinds of limitations here in this kind of paradigm here on earth. And so we come in with that recognition, because by imposing these kinds of limitations, it's a fun adventure and experience to break out of those limitations and to expand the consciousness. And so that's something that we recognize in this dreamlike non-physical reality before we decide to incarnate. So that's something that's really empowering to remember, is that, you know, before we incarnate, we make all these different kinds of soul contracts, agreements, and just because something is a soul contract does not mean anything is permanent. We have the ability to change these things. So just recognizing that from the non-physical reality structure aspect of it, that this physical life is a complement to that non-physical reality, and how they come together as one thing that overlap. And a lot of times we can separate ideas of like, okay, this is my physical reality, it's not my spiritual reality. And that's where we can get into these different limiting beliefs about, you know, what we're capable of and who we think we are, and you know, putting ourselves kind of in a box at times. And so it's really important to start remembering more and more that we are living a dream in this physical reality, and we can start to consciously create the reality that we prefer, simply by being open to it and having the right tool sets as to information, as to understanding how reality actually works. So I'm going to walk you through that in this next slide, which is parallel realities. So it's understanding our multidimensionality. It's recognizing how the non-physical and physical realities interact and how they're completely intertwined. So going to and recognizing like dream work too is also going to be really important to make all this kind of mesh and come together. So let's tune into the next slide. So the mechanism of parallel realities, and this is information that I've received from Bashar, who's channeled by Daryl Inca. And let me know in the comment section if you've ever heard of Bashar or are familiar with his work. Essentially, he describes the mechanism and the physics of parallel realities. And this is something that I have personally experienced, and I'll go into that in a little bit. So we're constantly shifting through different parallel realities. And that's actually how we get the illusion and the experience of motion. And parallel realities are each still frames. So you can think of a parallel reality as one whole still frame picture, just this one part of it, okay? And this is another parallel reality in which there is a slight change in the image. Like in a film strip, if you were to say that this whole line of Earth pictures right here is on one single film strip, and they're all slightly different than the next, just like it would be on a film strip. It's the light, the projection of the light through the film strip that actually gets the experience, that creates the experience of movement. So this is really powerful information to really wrap your mind around, because do me a favor right now, wherever you're sitting, whatever you're doing, move one of your hands up and down and just watch the movement. Keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. In this experience, as you're moving your hand up and down, you're shifting through billions of different parallel realities per second. So really think about that for a second. If you're shifting through different bodies, different version of your body, like a completely separate body, but it still looks similar to who you are, right? To your physical body, physical apparatus in this life. You're actually shifting bodies, like in a film strip. And that's huge. And the light that's being projected through the film strip is your consciousness. Your consciousness is what is creating the experience and also the illusion of like linear movement. So that's really, really big. And when we really start to understand and grasp that concept and start playing with that idea, every time you remember it, every time you move and you're in, like maybe you're driving somewhere, play with it then. That's a great time to remember this fact that you are shifting through billions of different parallel realities every single second. And with that knowledge, you are able to open up a portal in your own consciousness of believability that you can start to imagine and project and open up to other kinds of parallel realities that you want to bring into your experience. So let me give you an example. An example would be, if you are someone who's always wanted to be a speaker, and you are someone that maybe it feels a little shy to do that, but you still have this desire to do that, you can start to open up your ideas of how this reality works, start taking action on the things that you love to do. It doesn't have to be anything big. It could be the small things in any given moment. And take action on those things. And knowing that you're shifting through parallel realities billions of times per second, you're going to start moving in the direction of creating consciously a reality that you prefer, a reality that excites you, a reality that you're passionate about, a reality in which synchronistic experiences like lucid dreaming will happen much more consistently, much more constantly, something that just continues to unfold. Different kinds of more expanded states start to happen, and when they happen, you're able to integrate them easier. And so in combination of understanding that you're shifting billions of times per second, that opens up so much possibility for you right here, right now. So everything is at your fingertips. Everything is available to you. And recognizing that how abundant our universe actually is. Like, think about it. Let's say that you want to be on stage as a singer. Maybe you've always wanted to go on American Idol or on The Voice or what have you. Maybe that's been like your lifelong dream. Okay, well, there's a reality out there in which you win the whole freaking competition. Like, you win the whole thing. And there's a reality out there in which you never even participate, even though you wanted to. And there's everything in between. And so think of how abundant that is. And think of how in all of the worlds possible, and all of the billions of different versions of Earth, all the billions of different parallel realities that exist, that there's a place and there's something for everybody. Like, in another reality, if somebody else has that same dream of being the winner of American Idol or The Voice, there's a reality for them in which they win it. But you can decide which reality you go to, and also that no matter where you shift in parallel reality, whatever reality you shift to, all of them are for a positive purpose if you're willing to look at it like that. So that's another thing, and to kind of counterbalance or like to just complement with this understanding that you're shifting constantly. And when I say that you want to win American Idol, and let's say that you don't, right? But that can still serve you in a positive way. That can still lead to even bigger opportunities. And that can still teach you something that you really wanted to learn on a soul level. And so not having a contracted expectation of this needs to happen or I'm not doing something right. Not doing that, but just taking everything with ease and grace and flow. And so that's really where, understanding the potentiality of recognizing how you are shifting constantly through all these different parallel realities is really, really huge. And again, brings up so much more inspiration to start dreaming, to start creating consciously what it is you want to create, who it is you want to be, how you want to experience this life that is unique, that is 1 in a million billion, like infinite. Like, this is this is kind of where, at this point in time in this collective, we're helping out the entire collective of all these different parallel Earths, like ascend and awaken at their own pace. And, but just by being here, we're having that kind of impact. So I want you to start dreaming. I want you to start thinking creatively about what dreams you have and start seeing the different parallel realities that exist. And another thing that Bashar says is that you cannot perceive anything that you're not the vibration of. So when you imagine yourself winning The Voice, you imagine yourself winning American Idol, or you imagine yourself doing a public speaking engagement, or whatever it is you're passionate about, an art exhibit, writing a book, being a musician on stage, playing the guitar, being an actor, whatever it is, there's a reality out there in which you chose that. So start asking yourself the question, like, what do I need to do to be like that version of me who's on that stage, who's doing that thing that I want to do? What do I need to do to get there? And make little baby step goals towards it each and every day. And keeping that vision alive, keeping that parallel reality version of you as the forefront and the cornerstone of what you're doing. And play with it, have fun. Like, we're not here to to hate our lives, that doesn't really help our collective, right? Like, we want to be of service. And how do we be of service? By being ourselves. We got to be ourselves. We got to be passionate about our life. We got to feel good, right? Because when we feel good, other people get inspired by that. Other people want to be a part of that. So all of these decisions that you want to make, another version of you has already made them. So what did they do to get to where they're at? And copy that. Just do that. Act as if you are that person, and you will be where they're at while taking that action. Because the action is everything. The action is everything. That's a full circuit. That's you really understanding something from a soul level. That's how our higher self sees from high above. This is a euphemism, but like, that's how we know that it sunk in, because we've taken an action, and that full circuit's the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge. So I'm going to share with you a story I have to paint this picture very physically about shifting realities. So this was about 2 years ago that I had this experience. I am a volunteer for Bashar events in LA, and this was the weekend of the summer solstice. So it was a very potent period of time. And for me, I really felt it. I really had a lot of things happen that were kind of all over the place energetically, positive, negative, high, and low. But it's all good. Like, no matter what I perceived it to be in the moment, it all helped me and helped me evolve. So that's good. So I am there helping to set up at the Garland in LA for the Bashar event. I'm looking at all the different movie posters that are framed on the walls, and there's about 6 of them. And I remember feeling very pulled, very guided to really admire and acknowledge each of the individual movie posters. So I'm taking my time, I'm just, taking in each detail of all of the different posters. Some depicted like monsters, some predicted a cowboy, some predicted, or not predicted, depicted is what I meant. Depicted, let's see, what else? Just different films featuring Judy Garland. And I remember noticing that each of the posters and each of the frames were the exact same size. And I'm like, oh, how symmetrical. Like, I like symmetry. Like, that's cool. So I remember thinking that. Okay, so then Friday transmission happened later that night, and Saturday, me and my partner Ian, we decided to volunteer for the Alien Con event that was also happening during the day on Saturday. And then we were going to go and volunteer Saturday night at the Bashar event. So earlier in the day at the Alien Con event, I had so many different experiences. I'm going to walk you through some of them. And one of the experiences that I had was I was one of the line directors, I guess, and this giant line was forming. Like this line probably easily had 200 people in it. And it was like throughout the entire building and then out the front door. Like it was completely insane how far it was. Okay. So then I had to use the restroom. So I go, there's a little bit of a line. I wait probably the whole like waiting in line and going to the bathroom, coming back was probably like 20 minutes. Okay. I go back to the line that I was servicing before, and the line had shrunk to about 50 people. How does that happen in a 15 to 20 minute time frame? Like that was really, really insane, but that's not even the most insane one yet. So later, after having had like a lot of different energy things happening and recognizing I was being contacted by like an interdimensional being, and they were speaking through someone, and just a lot all at once. Later that night, we got to the Bashar transmission late. We sat down, and I remember feeling like really emotional and just like having a lot going on and just like being really upset in myself. And I looked up at all of the movie posters on the wall, and this is the big one, okay? I look up at all the movie posters on the wall. The one in the center, so there's probably 5 actually posters on the wall because there was a center one. The one in the center featured a cowboy getting whipped on the back by this mean looking guy, and then a girl's like screaming behind the mean looking guy. And in big bold lettering it said he's being punished for a crime he did not commit. And that movie poster was 4 times the size of all the other movie posters. And I knew in that moment that I had shifted to a whole new earth and a whole new universe, because that didn't make any logical sense. I was just here less than 24 hours ago, in which all of the movie poster sizes were the exact same size. How does it get 4 times bigger in the center of the room? All the other ones are the exact same size that they were, but this one in particular was 4 times bigger. And the words spoke directly to what I was experiencing. He was being punished for a crime he did not commit. And in that day, I had been so hard on myself and so punishing towards myself that's why I was so emotional when I got into the transmission later that evening. And that's huge. And that didn't happen until I started to understand to some degree that parallel realities is the truth of how we experience this life. So all of these different ideas about, who we think we are is just one small fragment as to who we really are. And who we really are is not limited to the things that we think we're limited to now. And so I want you guys to start thinking about, you know, what opportunities you want to experience, what things you want to experience, and get creative and dare to dream, you know, push those boundaries and start envisioning those things coming to fruition. Get into the feeling state of where it is you want to be. Feel it and see it, and then act from that energy. Take action. What would that version of me do if they were here right now? If that was me right now, what would I need to do to get there? Very simple, very, very simple, easy to do, and fun. Fun. That's the thing. Fun. That energy, it's amazing, because even Bashar says that enlightenment, if we want to achieve, he doesn't even say if you want to achieve, he just says the first thing you need to know about enlightenment is that you need to lighten up on yourself. So I hope that story shows you a little bit more about how physical these realities are. Like, it's not just an idea. It starts as an idea, but then really it's a fact, like a physical fact. And we can start seeing evidence of that in our reality. And again, another thing to keep in mind is your energy state. So reminding yourself that you can use everything that happens in your life in a positive way. And when you let that be, it will be. Like, you will get that resonance. You will get that extraction of any experiences that no matter how this looks on the surface, I know that it can serve me in a positive way, and that is what I choose. And even if it comes down to recognizing that you don't prefer that, that's still a positive recognition. You're getting more clear on what it is that you do prefer, and that's a positive thing. Okay, so I do want to talk about dreams, because dreams are also different parallel realities, because out of the 5 different laws of creation, I'm going to tell them to you right now. The 5 different laws, and you might want to write this down. You don't have to, but you might want to. 5 laws of creation, and I'm not making this up. Number 1, you exist. So what does that mean? That means that you never die, ever. You never die. You change form and you transform and you transition, but you as a consciousness, as an awareness, will always be. So you as an existence have always existed. You've never not existed. And the idea of time and space is an illusion. I'm going to dive into that in the next one, but I want to repeat this for you. Law number 1, you exist. You always have, and you always will. That's law number 1. Law number 2, everything is here and now. Time and space is an illusion. So what does that mean? I'm going to dive into that. That means that everything you imagine, everything that you see on TV, to some extent, all of that exists because we can't imagine something that does not exist. Because by definition, non-existence doesn't exist. So anything we can imagine exists somewhere. So this also includes your, what we call, I'm doing quotes, past lives. They're not really past lives. They're existing now in another time space. So in another era, in another space, like on another version of Earth or another planet somewhere or another realm, what have you, all of these things exist simultaneously. So that means that we can connect and make these different energetic connections to all of these other experiences we're having and all these other planes and dimensions and realities and all of that. Whew, that's a good one. Okay. And law number 3. The one is the all, and the all are the one. I'm going to say that one more time. Law number 3 is the all are the one, and the one is the all. So this is really demonstrating that everything is one thing. That, and we can even come down to the molecular level, to the size of an atom. Think of an atom. Now picture that atom and everything that creates everything, the same one atom that is everywhere simultaneously. And that's the most accurate scientific description of everything being one thing. So all of us as people are one, our earth is part of us as one, and we're part of it as one. Our animals, all of the beings in other places and spaces and times and dimensions and realms, all of this that we just imagined right now is the same one consciousness experiencing itself in all the different ways that it can. And we are part of that puzzle. We are part of that masterpiece that continues to grow and grow and grow and expand and expand and expand. Law number 4, what you put out is what you get back. So in our society, we have called this law the law of attraction. However, in my opinion, there's kind of a lot of misunderstanding about law of attraction, because it's not just, I feel like sometimes people don't always take into consideration that you have to take action. And sometimes in our definition of law of attraction in our society doesn't always include that, and that's the most important thing. So what you put out is what you get back is essentially saying that our physical reality is a mirror. That if we want the mirror to smile, we have to be smiling first. That we can't wait around forever to see if the mirror will smile at us, because we know that we have to internally smile in order for the mirror to reflect that. So this law of what you put out is what you get back is just whatever energy state you're in, you're communicating from, you're taking action in, you're going to get that feeling resonance response back in yourself. Like you're going to feel that way internally. What you put out is what you get back, like for like vibration for like vibration. So that's really powerful to recognize. The 5th law, last but not least, is that everything changes except the first 4 laws. So everything else changes except the first 4 laws. So what that means, and these are facts of the universe that come from Bashar, who can actually see the structure of creation. So this is really super freeing too, because if everything changes, that means that I'm changing constantly. I'm never the same. I can create the experience that everything is the same through linear belief and timeline, but truly we're just creating that in the moment. We don't have to continually create that anymore. So we're constantly changing. That means that our beliefs are changing, our past is changing, our future potentials are changing, our ideas of ourselves are changing, our thoughts, our emotions are changing, the world around us is changing. No matter what we see on the news, no matter what our friends say, no matter what our news feed has, no matter what, everything is always changing. Wow, that's freedom right there. That's freedom. Whew. So I'm going to run through the laws really quick again, just one by one, and then we'll move on to the next slide. So law number 1, you exist. You always have, you always will. Number 2, everything is here and now. Time, space is an illusion. Number 3, the all are the one, and the one is the all. We're all connected. Everything is connected. Number 4, what you put out is what you get back. Reality is a mirror. Number 5, everything changes except the first 4 laws. That's the only thing that don't change. Okay. So, dream types. I'm going to share with you about, and this is kind of oversimplified, but to make things just like simple and like a place to start from, this is great. So highly symbolic dreams. We're all really familiar with those that are abstract and we're like, what the heck just happened? I don't even know. But there's like different emotional things that you feel sometimes with those kinds of dreams. Sometimes not. Sometimes you're just like, wow, I saw this like 4-legged chicken and I don't know what that means, you know. But so highly symbolic dreams can actually be representative of other experiences that you've had in other realities, in other dimensions, in other realms. But sometimes our physical mind doesn't have all the symbols it needs, like it doesn't have the ability to really translate what the experience is. So it uses symbols that you can decode to really understand consciously. So I highly recommend dream journaling so that you can start to get in tune with your own dream language. Because when you start journaling it out and you start writing down, oh, I saw a 4-legged chicken, you know, I don't really know what that means, but start imagining what you think it could mean. And then more and more and more information will start tumbling out. And just at first, it might be a little bit of a puzzle, but the more that you just practice it, the more you'll get into the feeling resonance of what the symbol means. And the feeling is really where the understanding is. So start describing, like writing out like your symbols, like the things that are coming up, like what happened. And if you're confused on something like, oh, I don't really know what this is, that could be a symbol. So then extract a little bit, like write a little bit about that and see what comes up. You know, don't worry about perfection or any of that shit. Just let yourself express and just play with it a little bit. Okay, so then we're going to go into lucid dreams, and we're all familiar with what those are, I'm sure, but so these are dreams essentially that you become aware that you're dreaming and you take control of the experience. You're consciously aware that you're dreaming, and it's like acting like you would be in this physical experience and you're inside the dream world. So who here would like to become more lucid in their dreams and in their life? You can go ahead and type it in the comments that you want that. And let's see. Okay, so lucid living. Becoming more aware that you're dreaming this experience. that you are creating this experience for yourself. And I'm going to show you some different things that I feel are important to kind of establish a foundation for more of this like integration of becoming aware in this physical dream. And I want to recap a little bit on some of the things I already shared with you, because these are all moving in that direction and opening up portals and gates within your own consciousness. So number one was parallel realities. Parallel realities, understanding that not everything is the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it looks the same. It's not. You're in a different place. You're a different person. You are in a different version of Earth, even though things look so solid and they look so similar. It's really fun to start really wrapping our minds around that. And again, the laws of creation, those understanding those laws will help you understand what is fact and what is illusion. And that opens up so much possibility, because a lot of these beliefs that we have, no matter what kind of beliefs they are, they're not facts. They're not facts. They try and present themselves as facts, but they're not. So reminding yourself that everything changes. Everything changes. You are constantly changing. And the more that you allow that, the more that you can just open your heart to receive that, the more that you will experience it, the more that you will feel that way and get evidence of it. And not that the evidence comes from external, the evidence comes from you knowing that there's evidence. And then the evidence reveals itself. Because we have to be in the vibration of knowing and choosing to be able to receive that kind of information, that kind of external expression. So, definition of lucid living. Recognizing that our physical reality is a dream from the soul perspective. And opening up to this more and more in our daily life. So I'm going to show you the foundational principles for this. And there's no right or wrong way, but I'm going to just share with you what has worked for me. And you can implement all of it or none of it or some of it. It doesn't matter. Whatever your highest excitement is, whatever you know intuitively, hey, this is going to be good. You feel like some resonance with it. You feel excited about it. Then that's your indication from your own intuitive guidance system that that is a green light for you, that you should take action on that. So just pay attention to how you feel with these different options and opportunities, and just follow your heart. So here we go. So number one thing for establishing more of this recognition that we're dreaming and to become more lucid in this physical life experience is grounding. So sometimes I hear in different like spiritual communities like, oh, I don't like being grounded. I don't like being here on earth. I don't like my life. Well, lucid living is all about finding the passion in your life. So we need to get connected with our physical body. We need to get connected with our earth. We need to be connected on all levels to be an actual full circuit and a full conduit for the energy that we're bringing in from these higher realms and dimensions to be of service to our planet. So if that's something you're interested in, type in the comments that that's why you're here, or yes. But we really want to be of service. And it's amazing because, you know, our service is not this like, oh, I got to work really hard. Oh, this sucks. Oh, I hate this. Service is truly being in your heart, living in your heart, and taking action from your heart on your dreams, on your joy, on your passion in life, because that is what gets people's attention. If we're moping around all the time as supposed light workers, or whatever you consider yourself to be, spiritual person, you know, how are we even going to get their attention if we hate our life, or if we don't want to be here, or if we're just grouchy all the time, you know? We gotta be living in ourselves. So grounding, connecting with the body. So I recommend like some sort of daily ritual of meditation in the morning time or the night time, depending on your own biorhythm. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. You always have an option to switch things up too. Maybe you're a nighttime person like me, and you want to start doing more morning stuff. That's kind of where I'm at. Maybe it's the opposite for you, whatever it is, but some sort of like consistent action that you're taking daily, and not because you have to, but because you want to. You want to feel that connection to earth. You want to feel that connection to your higher self. You want to feel more relaxed and less stressed. You want to dedicate yourself, you know? So a daily ritual is really, really great. And this is another one that my partner felt it was a good one to add in, which is substituting any sort of toxic behaviors, or maybe non-preferable behaviors, like smoking weed all the time, drinking excessively, eating donuts every day. That's kind of a funny one. But, you know, anything that you feel, ooh, like I do this frequently, but I don't know if it's the right move. Start substituting that behavior for a healthy behavior, for one that you know is benefiting you. So if there's any doubt if something is benefiting you, you can substitute the word toxic for that. So substitute it with a healthy behavior, like eating a green smoothie for breakfast, going for a jog or working out, spending time in nature. These are habits that connect you with all parts of your being. And a lot of times we can ignore the physical part of our being. And so we need to be connected with our body. And another thing that I want to add right now is dance and movement. And for me, dance has been incredible. It will get me out of the deepest, darkest shit in my mind and just like clear it away. And I feel alive again. I can breathe. I feel like I don't have like heaviness on my shoulders. So something you're passionate about that is a healthy expression and behavior for you, and start doing more of that. Start doing more of that and connecting with your physical vessel. And another really, really great thing is nature bathing. And I actually do this really amazing nature meditation. And it's essentially, and you can do this if you like to, if it excites you. I may tell you a little bit about my experience doing this, like what happened from doing it. I will. Okay. So nature bathing, meditation, I like to do, find a tree and sit at the base of the tree with your back against the tree trunk, if that's comfortable. Preferably have some sort of running water or a body of water in front of you. And as you are meditating, close your eyes and feel into the root system of the tree, in the mycelium network underneath the soil, and connect with the breath of the tree. Sync your breath with the tree's breath. Listen gently to the sound of the water and the wind through the leaves and the trees. Listen gently to the nature sounds. And this is all very gentle, very, very gentle, just really relaxed. And open your ears to maybe some nature spirits or guides who may be whispering little things in your ears. And intend to connect with them, intend to connect with the nature spirits and your guides, and preferably say it out loud, because it's like a full circuit that way. You're physically saying it too. And this is something that is really, really powerful. And I also recommend, if you can do it at sunset, that would be really, really great. If for whatever reason you can't do it at sunset, anytime is fine. But the energy of sunset from transitioning from the lightness into the nighttime, that has a very certain kind of energy that's really powerful. So that's why I recommend it. However, it will work anywhere you do it. So that's really great to do. And I did this meditation for 30 days straight, every day, only for 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be super long unless you want to, unless that's exciting for you. But I just did it for 15 minutes every day at sunset, and for 30 days. And if you want, you can start with 15 days and then move into 30, or you can just do the full 30, whatever you'd like to do. And after doing this on my 13th day of doing it, I woke up and looked at my closet, this closet, and there was a nature spirit who had manifested, and it was just her head. She just came to me as a head, like of like this goddess woman. She was actually representing like ayahuasca. She had rainbow feathered headpiece on, and she never spoke. It was telepathic, so it was downloading thoughts into my mind, and then those thoughts were being translated into English so that I could receive, like, understand consciously what she was saying. So I'm sharing this exercise with you because they will work with you to be grounded, to be connected with the earth, and to expand your energy simultaneously by having similar kinds of experiences like that. And again, do this because it fills you with joy, and do this because you feel grounded and connected from it. And again, we don't want to have any sort of constricted, like, I need something to happen. No, we need to release and receive whatever comes our way with flow and ease and grace. And that is how we but that's how we open up to receive more higher states of experiences and messages like that. So yeah. Okay, so then this one is more of a permission slip to wake up physically in this life, in this experience. And so this is a permission slip that comes from Bashar. And I'm going to walk you through each of the weeks. Week 1 is to find or create an object that's small enough to take with you places, that you feel very connected to, that you are excited about, and that represents your essence, who you are in your soul, like your vibration. At least once a day, ideally before going to bed, meditate on it, meditate with it, play with it, explore it for 15 minutes. And do that every day for the first full week. So I want you to think right now of something that you could use for this experience, something that you feel connected to, something that's small enough to put in your pocket or take with you places. Or maybe you want to create something that would be representative of that. So I want you to think right now and pick something. And if it changes later, that's fine. But just for this exercise, I want you to just see it in your mind. So give you a second. Okay. So using that image of whatever it is that you think of, have thought of for week 1, because week 2 and week 3 and week 4 are going to add to that one object. So just for a time being, just use that one object. And so this is week 2. Attach a small mirror or shard of a mirror to the object. And during your meditation, look into your eyes in the mirror, in addition to continuing to play with and focus on the object. So this is like an open-eyed meditation in which you're just staring at your own eyes in a small mirror that's attached to your object. And again, you're going to do this for 15 minutes for a full week, every day, each week. Week 3. Add a small piece of paper that says you are dreaming to the object next to the mirror and continue to do the meditation. So as you are looking at your object, it now has a mirror and it now has a note that says you are dreaming, and it's all in this one object that you chose. And you're continuing to look into your eyes and simultaneously reading you are dreaming, or just aware that it's there. And maybe you're going back and forth between the mirror and the words. And for 15 minutes every day for 1 week. Week number 4. Attach an object that is opposite in energy of the object you originally chose. For example, you can choose, if you chose a ball as your object in week 1, then you would attach maybe a nail to it or a razor or something that would potentially pop the ball. It's opposite in energy. Use something that is shocking, that will shock you, like will jar you, that is very different in energy from the object that you chose. So feel into that. What would be an opposite energy object that you could add to your entire thing, entire permission slip? So I'm going to give you my example of what I chose so that you can kind of see it from that angle too, of where you could go with this. So I'm very drawn to a certain labradorite crystal that I have. It's sleek, it fits in my pocket and in my palm really easily. I chose that. I didn't have a small enough mirror, so I used a shard of a mirror, and then I wrote the note on it. And then the opposite energy was also a razor, because the labradorite to me represents connection to my Pleiadian higher self, my other connections that are in higher frequency states, like in higher domains, that kind of thing. So it represents like connection to me. So when I put a razor on it, it makes me feel like afraid to connect, right? It's that polarization of like, ooh, like I could cut myself with this. So it's opposite in energy. So just play around with that. And this is something that the goal of it and what you're going to get out of doing this exercise is that over the course of the 4 weeks, during this course of time that you're doing this permission slip, you will start to see your favorite object that you chose in this. You'll start to see it in your dreams. So what that does is it's an anchor. And that's the number one thing that I recommend for increasing more lucidity in your like physical experience here, is to have an anchor. And in a moment, I'll go into other kinds of things that you can use as anchors too, but this permission slip is a good physical activity to do. The other things I'm going to mention are certain kinds of synchronicities, but this is really, really fantastic for this. So you're going to start seeing your anchor, your object in your dream state. When you see the dream, when you see the object in the dream, it's a reminder that you're dreaming, and so that you can wake up in the dream and have more conscious control in your dream realm. And when you start to have more control in your dream realm, you will start to essentially, this is a euphemism, but essentially bringing both of these different worlds together, and to recognizing how overlapped and intertwined that our physical reality experience and our dream reality experience, or non-physical reality experience, are all the same thing. They're all connected together. I hope that makes sense. And so by doing this exercise, you are literally creating a bridge between your non-physical reality, your dream reality, your physical life. And that is a great reminder for remembering that you are, in fact, dreaming this experience. And to make more decisions that are representative of you recognizing that you're dreaming in this physical life. So being more prepared mentally, emotionally, to take action on things that you prefer, things that are your dreams, are your inspirations, are your passions in life. And okay, another thing that I want to add about anchors, because I mentioned certain kinds of synchronicities. So right now, if you have a piece of paper, or you have maybe like a Google Doc or something like that, maybe pull it up and just write down like 5 different synchronicities you have in your life right now, if you have any. If you have any synchronicities in your life that kind of occur on a regular basis, you can use those as anchors. If you don't, that's okay. I'm going to show you some right now. So those of you that do have synchronicities that are reoccurring, go ahead and write them down. If you don't, here's some. So time synchronicities are really big. So when people see like 1111, 1 2 3 4, 2 2 2, those kinds of things, you can use those as anchors. And whenever you see them on the clock, you remind yourself, I'm dreaming this experience. That's anchor number 1. Anchor number 2, and this is a fun one. However, just feel into what's going to work for you. I'm just going to give you some options of different kinds of anchors, and you can choose which ones you're drawn to, what your highest excitement is, what you resonate with. One of the ones that I love is animals. One animal in particular that I see at very specific moments and is always like a medicine sign. I'm very into like that kind of shamanistic and natural, and like even American Indian, Native American kind of vibe. And whenever I see a red-tailed hawk, I'm like, that's my higher self giving me a symbol in my physical reality. Or I will also see different kinds of cats, like house cats, like at random places, like at random times, but synchronistic times. So if you have a certain kind of animal that you're drawn to, I know that might be a little bit cute, or like maybe not for everybody, but that's another one, an animal. or even dolphins are great too. And let's see, songs, certain kinds of songs that will play on the radio. So one of mine that really wakes me up and reminds me that I'm dreaming is Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. And because it's about dreaming, or at least that's the title, dreaming and traveling, and so pay attention to, if there's a certain song that really resonates with you and you want to hear more of it, make it an anchor. Make it a synchronicity for yourself, and you'll start to see an increase in those kinds of synchronicities. I also have another kind of number synchronicity, and for the longest time mine was 27, because I always knew ever since I was a child that when I would turn 27 would be like a big shift for me. It would be a big, like, life altering thing. I'm 28 now, and it really was. It really, really was. And brought to surface so many things that I needed to clear out of the way so that I could be where I'm at now in a completely new paradigm for myself. And so if you have a certain kind of number that you're drawn to, like 13, 12, 77, whatever it is. And anytime you see that anywhere, like even if it's on like a random piece of paper you have, anytime you see it, you remind yourself, I'm dreaming. Anytime you hear that song that resonates and you're like, I want to hear more of that, remind yourself you're dreaming. Those kinds of things. These are different kinds of anchor points you can add to this lucid living permission slip that you can do physically for 4 weeks, and how potent and powerful it really is. So I hope that helps. And if you have any certain anchor points, anchor synchronicities that you have that you would like to share, you can go ahead and put it in the comments, and I can read those. Yeah, so there's just so much. And I'm going to start with questions now, because I feel like questions will be really, really great for adding to this. So I'm going to pull that up. So if anybody, oh, you have 1111 or 11, that's great. That's great. If anybody has any certain questions about anything in particular, or you just want to share anything, let me know. I'm going to see what else wants to come up right now. Any certain questions anybody has about anything in particular? I know that this was kind of a lot. I'm really wanting to go back to the parallel realities thing, and let's just take a look at this image here that really depicts the whole phenomena of parallel realities, because it literally looks like this. And I was recently at a event that a Bashar event, that he spoke to a woman who shared that she was making contact with these different ET beings, and they were physically there with her in her backyard. And she looked up in the sky, and she literally saw a parallel Earth in the sky. She saw like 2 or 3 of them. So imagine seeing that. Like how breathtaking and wow that kind of experience is, and the solidity of it. And I see that there's a question, so I'm going to look at this. How do I train myself to remember my dreams? I remember, but it is while I'm sleeping, okay. The As soon as I wake up, it all disappears. I also want to learn to control my dream. Yes, so this permission slip is a really great one to help you with lucid dreaming. And lucid dreaming and becoming more lucid in this life experience. So it's doing two different things that are the same thing. It's like, it's bridging the whole concept of lucid dreaming and lucid living. And another thing that's coming up right now that I want to share with you is you can also put a crystal that you are drawn to and put it underneath your pillow. And that will also help with dream recall, dream enhancement, lucid dreaming. All of that is really, really helpful for that. I've been doing that for the past, I think, 5 months, and I've seen a huge difference in my ability to remember my dreams, especially the important ones, especially the ones where I'm like, I need to learn something from this, or like I need to bring it back with me so that I can extract the lesson and like apply it to my life. And I really recommend a crystal. You can use any kind of crystal. It doesn't have to be a certain kind. I'll give you some ideas, but really it comes down to you asking the question, what crystal will help me with my lucid dreaming and dream recall? And then instantly you'll get a pull to one of them, or you'll think of one. And I recommend following that impulse. And if you're really stuck and you're like, ooh, but there's just so many options and all these things, I'll give you some ideas. So I think anything that you feel emotionally connected to. So like I'm thinking of selenite is a great one because it's naturally a moon crystal. It's connected with the moon energy. It's a super high vibration. It's super cleansing too. That's a good one if you want to work with that for dreaming. Sometimes it can be kind of brittle, so you might want to put it next to you as you sleep instead of underneath your pillow. You can also put it underneath your bed, whatever you're drawn to. Another one that I would recommend would be like a small clear quartz. And the reason for that is because the clarity of the quartz is kind of like a laser, in that you can pinpoint energy and like with laser like focus. So that's really good for clarity, for getting really clear and having like memory recall really clearly. I recommend that. I think that those would be my top two, and those are pretty easily accessible. I'm also feeling like rose quartz would be helpful. I don't know if you have a rose quartz or you're thinking of one, but I'm feeling like a rose quartz would also be helpful for that. And let me know if anybody else, I do have another question. How did your life feel differently after your shift? When I turned 27, I think that's what you're asking. It felt differently because a lot of things changed in my reality, and to the point, after the poster one. Okay. The poster experience. Okay. That really, in that moment, because I was so emotional and just having had a crazy day, like, and then seeing the poster in that moment, I ran away from the idea of being like a conscious creator, because I was afraid of what that meant. And I feel like it was stemming from this like fear of of something being my fault. And that's really where, you know, this whole concept of human judgment, like the kinds of judgment that we're kind of taught, like value, like, oh, this is negative, this is positive. I was still so stuck in that like dualistic mindset at the time that it did sink in over time, but it took some time for me to really grab a hold of that and to own it, and to recognize that nothing is ever about fault. It's always about learning. And so just that simple shift in perspective and being easier on myself, because that's one of the reasons why it manifested, was it was a message from my higher self, like, hey, like, lighten up, like, love yourself and be easy with yourself, be gentle with yourself. And so it was a really beautiful experience to have, and really inspiring, because I felt very seen by myself, by my higher self, you know, and recognizing like my worth. And you know, and that's another thing, is worth. It's like there's so many different things that we're taught to believe about ourselves, that, oh, I'm not worthy. And that's just total shit, because it's like we wouldn't exist if we weren't worthy to. Because the very fact that we exist means that we deserve to be here, that we deserve to exist. Like, we can't exist and not deserve it. That doesn't even compute, you know? From a higher perspective, the very fact that we exist means that we deserve, that we are worthy, that we are part of the whole system. We're part of the whole system. An honest response, thank you. Yeah, have more fun. Absolutely. Yes. And that's the key thing. And that's what I teach my clients, is life is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. And let's find your passions. Let's find your desires. Like, let's work on those. Let's dive into those. Let's alter the mindset to be more receptive to finding fun in every moment, even the shit that you don't want to do, like even like taxes or banking or whatever. Like, there's a fun way to do it, and even getting it done is fun. Like, it feels good when something gets done. And so there's just so much potential. And again, just reminding ourselves of the very fact that we are shifting constantly. We're never the same person. The only reason why we're perpetuating that idea, that linear time idea of ourselves, oh, my past is when I did this, all these things that we think we remember, we're actually different people all the time with a completely different history. So the only reason why we're holding on to that memory of that time stream is because sometimes we believe we have to. Sometimes we believe that there's no other option. So I'm reminding you of this now, that you do have other options, that you do have other versions of yourself that you're constantly shifting through with different paths. And this is something that takes a little bit of practice in. And it's really about the practice. It's really about that kind of reinforcement, because it's kind of like gaining a whole different momentum. So we have to start looking at things like a bigger picture of how the whole grand scheme of things actually works. And it's nice to know. It's really nice to know, like, these shifts are literally physical. It's not just It's not just an idea. It's a physical fact. And if anybody else has any other questions or comments, I would love to hear them. I'm gonna turn this over. You experience a lot of deja vu. That's cool. I'm glad that you mentioned the deja vu, Brenda, because I really want to touch base on that. Okay, so deja vu is actually when past, present, future all come together in one moment. So it's essentially a collapsing of time, because you are recognizing that, oh, I've been here before, but you haven't, but you have. So that's really cool, because it's like a melting of different parallel realities in the same moment. And I actually have my own theory on that. That is, okay, so you know when you have a deja vu, and sometimes it feels really powerful, like holy shit, like really intense. And then sometimes you have a deja vu and it's like, oh, that was weird. like almost barely noticeable, like there's not really a super deep feeling aspect to it, but just like, oh yeah, and keep going. My theory is that however intense the feeling of the deja vu is, that's like you are leaping over more frames. Like you're leaping through, it's not more parallel realities, but it's like timelines, because timelines are different than parallel realities. Parallel realities, as I said before, are still frames, just absolutely non-moving frames. And then they just slightly shift each second. But they themselves don't shift, but the illusion can be created with multiple parallel realities. So timelines are essentially, it's kind of like a stream of parallel realities together in a certain sequence, like cause effect kind of idea, and then another timeline where it's another sequence of parallel realities that accomplish something like cause and effect, and how those things can melt together in that moment. So it's almost kind of like you're leaping rather than taking a larger step. You're like leaping when you have a really deep like feeling of deja vu. And then when you have like a smaller feeling of deja vu, it's not as huge of a leap, but that's also okay, because you're just, it could be like a focus of, oh, I made this choice in this parallel reality and this is good, or like, you know, it could be like a focus. So that can also be good. And then I'm going to pull up this question and answer. Let's see. Okay, so if anybody else, oh, here we go. I made contact with an extra-dimensional blue orb while in Mexico. I've been peering through parallel reality timelines for many years, and I'm ready to find the portal. So my question is, how can I prime myself for the portal leap? Okay, so I recommend for this, okay, so there's different kinds of portals. maybe where you were at in Mexico has one potentially. I could see that. But if you're ready to start doing more like portal leaping, I recommend I'm going to give you some different locations of ones that I know of here in the US. Wait, are you in the US? I need to verify that. And I know some of other places around the world too. So the thing is that when you go to these locations, I'm going to read this. Oh, you're in Arizona. Okay, perfect. So Sedona, you know Sedona, right? Sedona is a vortex point, and it's the most powerful vortex point that we have in the continental US. So this is really, really powerful because it combines multiple interdimensional portals in the United States that are somewhat local. So a few of them are Mount Shasta, California, Maui, Hawaii. Oh, also, Mount Shasta, California is Mount Shasta, California is the crown chakra of our earth. Maui, Hawaii, specifically Mount Haleakala, is the earth's heart chakra. And I'm reading your comments as I'm talking. That's cool. Shasta many times and Big Island. Awesome. Yeah, so you've been in the energy of the crown and the heart. And Mount Haleakala, one word. It's a volcano. So that's heart chakra. And then also to add to this list, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm going to write this spelling. Santa Fe, New Mexico is an interdimensional portal connecting you with your ancestry and the Kachinas. And I do a lot of work with the Kachinas and the ancestors. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But that is really powerful for connecting with them there. And it's also related to like earth cultural heritage. It's not always, it's not solely blood ancestry. It can be, obviously, but it's not just that. There's more to it. So that's a really good place to tune into that energy. Roswell, New Mexico is fantastic for connecting with your ET connections. So that's really good. Another really strong interdimensional portal is Upheaval Dome in Utah. That is a great place to connect with your interdimensional connections, and that is potent. That is really potent. I'm aware. The last one specifically, it was Upheaval Dome. Here, I'll write it. Upheaval Dome, Utah. And then Santa Fe, New Mexico. Roswell, New Mexico. Sedona. Sedona is really a great one to go to because it brings in the energy of all of the other portals around it. So it has the energy of New Mexico. Santa Fe has the energy of Roswell. It has the energy of Upheaval Dome. It even has some of the energy of Shasta and Maui. It also has the energy of, there's one more in Los Angeles / Anaheim. And those Los Angeles, Anaheim area, that is an interdimensional portal for connecting you more with your parallel realities. So I think it's more specific to this version, like this incarnation version of you, but in all the other ways that you are too. So kind of a big spectrum there as well. And how are you applying yourself to these locations? What techniques do you use to connect? Great question. So, okay, so then physically being at any of these places and you have an intention to connect, a lot of it is going to start interdimensionally, which requires your imagination, which requires your ability to allow your guides and whoever is assisting you to take you on a dreamlike journey. So I recommend like a meditation, get into a meditative state wherever you're comfortable, wherever it's your highest excitement to sit and or to lay, and open up and ask for help or assistance from your guides, and ask them, if you have a specific kind of interest, if you want to know something particular about that orb that came to you, or you have like a certain theme you're exploring that you want to know more of or experience more of, simply ask them and then just relax into it. You don't have to try hard. I know that sounds kind of funny, but like the more that you don't try and you let them do their magic and take you on a journey, and you just open and you just remind yourself that you are open and receiving of that, the more that will start to unfold naturally and just take you wherever you need to go. And it may not look like what you picture at first, but that's part of the process. So if at first you just get a lot of feeling or a lot of opening or a lot of activations, like your chakras and your meridians open and you get kundalini, or maybe you don't get anything at all and you're just laying there, that is part of the process too. So don't judge it and don't give up, and just be present with whatever's happening, because it's happening to serve you. That would be my recommendation, and just keep doing it, and that's the whole point of the nature meditation that I mentioned earlier. The more consistent you are with connecting with nature and connecting with the nature spirits in that way, the more that they're going to want to connect with you, the more that they're going to want to inspire you with certain ideas or imaginations or inspirations. The more consistent you are in just receiving. A lot of it is just receiving. Everything else falls into place when we just open up to receiving things. So that would be my recommendation. Just lay down or meditate wherever you're excited to at any of these locations, and just allow in whatever wants to be present. So I hope that helps. And the reason why these areas, I forgot one too. Another interdimensional portal in this region that all of these are at is Las Vegas, Nevada, because it is the portal of probabilities. So that's actually why Las Vegas is a giant casino area. The whole entire city is a giant portal. The whole thing, especially where the buildings are like the Strip, especially the most concentrated parts are very much. The reason why there's so many buildings there is because on an intuitive level, human beings sense it, and then they build markers on top of it to indicate that there's a energetic spot there. Whether they recognize that or not, they're doing it intuitively. And I'll also share some other, and Santa Fe, the whole thing. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Oh, actually, there's I don't know if they call it like a central park in Santa Fe or like a family community park. That is the heart of it. I'm surprised that I knew that. Well, I did know that, but I hadn't thought about that in a long time, so I'm glad I asked that. Okay, let's see. Some other portals that I know of. The Plaza. Okay, awesome. Good to know. Thank you, Charmaine. Let's see. Okay, so some other chakra points, since I started with the crown with Mount Shasta, would I call these portals gateways to next level upgrades? They can be. Yeah, it can be. It depends on the individual. It depends on where they're at, and where we're at is always fluctuating. So we're never just at one place. So it's really just, that's why I feel like repetition is good, because on, different times, your energy will change and be more receptive to these things. So I would call them opportunities to receive upgrades for sure. Especially if you're really drawn somewhere, like you said earlier, that Hawaii was next, Maui was next. Like, there's a reason you're drawn to go there, because intuitively you're going to get what you need energetically there at that time. Like for me personally, my next portal place is going to be Upheaval Dome. Like, I've been very guided to go there. So I know that I'm going to get what I need there. So wherever you're inspired to go, whatever pulls you most, that's where you need to go first. So I'm going to also share some of the other chakra points and give you guys a little bit of information about each of those. So root chakra is actually Mount Uluru in Australia. So that is the root chakra of our earth. And our earth's sacral chakra is Lake Titicaca in Peru. And then third solar plexus is Cairo, Egypt, specifically where the pyramids are. And then heart chakra, Maui, Mount Haleakala. And then throat chakra is Glastonbury, England, and that is where we get a significant amount of crop circles. And if you guys are interested in that, you should definitely check Glastonbury out because of how much communication we get from there. And it's the reason it's the throat chakra, that kind of high level communication. And also the crop circles are not, I'm sure you guys know this, but they're not just like designs. They're also symbols, but more importantly, they're vortexes. So anytime you go into any of the crop circles, you're getting the electromagnetic field energy with it. So that can be really powerful. And there's different people who have had different kinds of experiences being in the crop circles. Like some people will be extremely dehydrated, not know that they're dehydrated, and then drink like 2 gallons of water all at once or what have you. Or some people get like vertigo. Some people fall asleep. There's all these different kinds of things. And with the idea of like sleeping in a crop circle, a lot of times it's to integrate the energy more on a physical basis. So that's kind of neat. And then also with the drinking of water in the crop circles, I think that that's really important, because a lot of us are so on the go that we don't drink enough water. And I know for sure that I do that sometimes. And so it's really important to stay hydrated, because that's how we, no pun intended, stay fluid. And are going with the flow and, you know, in the current of creation and not resisting it. So it just, and it helps our system so much more. So highly recommend that. And so then to move on to the third eye chakra, that is Mount Kailash in the Tibetan Himalayas. So that's really, really powerful. And you can connect with that energy. You can connect with any of these energies anytime you want, simply by intending to. And I feel like connecting with that third eye, Mount Kailash, Tibetan energy is really easy to connect because of all those monks, you know, that are meditating there now and have meditated there for centuries. So it's easy to connect with that kind of energy because it's so palpable. So yes, and then of course Mount Shasta, the crown chakra, and I was there in August of this last year, and I had an experience of connecting with the nature spirits and specifically the Sasquatch up there, and I knew that I wanted to work with them. And sometimes their energy is really, really powerful, like in the sense of like you can work with them to essentially get in tune with like the trickster energy. And the reason why you'd want to do that is because that trickster energy will lead you to discovering fears you didn't know you had, or fears that you did know you had but didn't know how to move through them. And they'll help you conquer those fears by moving through them. And so it's really powerful. And that was my experience up in Mount Shasta in August, was they helped me do that. And then I woke up the next morning to find a perfectly placed flower on my windshield. And I knew that a Sasquatch being put it there. And nobody else could have done it. And I knew for a fact. And I heard drumming in my mind, like in my beingness, and was reminded of all the different kinds of teachings. So they're really fun to connect with, and they really help you with getting grounded and crystal clear as to who you are in your heart, and move through any fears you may have and just open up more to life. So I highly recommend it. And the Sasquatch beings are essentially anywhere. Like they're in Yosemite, they're in like different mountainous kinds of areas that are just wilderness, and they're interdimensional, so they can go in and out of reality. That's why they're so challenging for people to find, because they don't want to be found. Who does? They drop in, they drop out. Like they can go from density to non-density, or you know, change their density easily. So that's why they're interdimensional. They can travel through dimensions. So yeah, they're in Shasta, they're in Yosemite, they're literally anywhere you can imagine, especially mountainous areas with forest, like Washington, certain places in Oregon. I'm sure also like East Coast, like New York, like in the wilderness there, all throughout. So they just pop in and out. So it's really cool to connect. But anytime you want to connect, you know, just emit that frequency and they'll feel it. So I'm gonna give you guys you guys can connect with me here. I'm on Instagram at Rooted Wise Woman. Facebook, same thing, Rooted Wise Woman. YouTube is River Kayla Mason, and on my YouTube channel, I share a lot of my experiences that I've had. That's mostly what I do. I like online. I do a lot of sharing, like storytelling of my experiences, because I feel very much so that the more that we share our experiences, and especially in the format of like story, it really gets ingrained into the psyche because our psyches are made for storytelling. Like we hold on to lessons and we hold on to teachings when it's told in story, and that's why it is the number one thing in so many indigenous cultures. It's like how they keep their lineage and their history alive is through storytelling. So it's deeply embedded in our psyche. So if you're interested in that, you can follow me, subscribe to my YouTube. I also have a website. And then I'm also launching a women's group coaching program that'll be launching in 2 weeks. And we are going to go so deep into transforming limiting beliefs, finding your passion in your daily life, and establishing healthy boundaries and communication styles, and exploring spirituality more in depth. It's definitely very deep. So if any women want to sign up for that, then that would be awesome. And you can always connect with me and or email me or message me. My email again is just rootedwisewoman, same as the other stuff, at gmail.com. And then I have a question here, logistical question. I didn't find a link to this replay. Will it be emailed when this ends? Just got on. Yes, it is ending soon. It'll end at 2. But yes, you'll receive a recording of this afterwards, after it's done. So yeah, I have been, ever since I was a child, actually, I worked with, I didn't work with, but I was actually contacted by one of my recently passed at the time grandmothers when I was 5, and actually have recall of that experience. And all through my life, I've had contact, and it wasn't until the past 5 years that those memories started to become unlocked. And so I've had many different kinds of experiences. I was part of, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the idea of the hybridization program. Let me know in the comments if you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that, the hybridization program. If you don't know what it is, it's essentially where gray extraterrestrials, they're not really extraterrestrials, they're actually parallel Earth humans that took a wrong, not wrong because nothing is wrong, but they genetically modified themselves to the extent to where they could no longer reproduce or survive as a species, but they were extremely technologically advanced. They energetically at some point severed the connection between mind and heart, and that's what led to their destruction, essentially, because it's imbalanced and it just doesn't work like that. So that eventually has to come to an end. And source info on the hybridization, yes, Bashar is great. Bashar.org, channeled by Daryl Inca, is great. You can also look into Bridget Nielsen. She also talks about hybridization briefly. Bashar has concrete information. I love Bridget Nielsen too. And so hybridization program, the Greys, they genetically modified themselves to the point where they can no longer reproduce, but they had the technology to go back in time because time is an illusion. And so they went back in time to around this time, and they made agreements with certain humans, and it's like millions, it's not like 2 millions of Earth humans around this time period, to be part of their program so that they could continue, they could create a hybrid race using their genetic material and new viable human genetic material to create a new hybrid race, and races, because there's multiple. So I'm part of that. I was part of it. I didn't know until about 5-6 years ago. And so yes, a lot of us in this kind of energy are connected somehow, whether you're a direct donor or whether you are energetically supporting in some way, shape, or form. We're all to some degree connected. So yes, very powerful stuff. And it's just amazing, like the times that we live in, and how deeply we're being of service, whether we recognize it or not, and all these different levels that we're being of service to our planet and our collective. And again, I just want to remind you guys that, you know, we're of service when we are doing what we love, when we are in a vibration of love, passion, joy, peace, all of that. Like, all of that is helpful. And not to say that it's not helpful when you're not in those states. I want to be clear on that, because those low parts of the process are also part of the larger picture. And it's all important. It's all inclusive. It's all about integrating all of it, you know. And I recently did a video on that. It'll be posting on Wednesday, about it, like using your negative incarnations in a way that serves you, because we all have been the good guy and the bad guy and everything in between. We've all been all of it, and it's really important to use it all in a positive way, in a way that serves you as a person, because when you feel good, you're able to help other people who may not be feeling good. So yes, the more acceptance, the more love, the more compassion that you have for yourself, and having had those experiences, they taught you something. They taught you what you don't prefer. They taught you where you don't want to go again, and how to help other people stop punishing themselves. Stop punishing yourself. Stop punishing themselves, and start loving yourself, start accepting yourself, start moving forward, start making decisions that feel good, start pursuing your passion. And they don't have to be huge steps. They're the little things in every given moment. Oh, what's the most exciting thing I could do right now? Okay, I'm going to do that. Oh, now what's the most exciting thing I could do right now? Oh, now I'm going to do that. And it's literally like following the yellow brick road, because you are on your way to see the Wizard of Oz. Like, you're on the way to being the wizard when you're on that road, that yellow brick road. And nothing has inherent meaning in it. Like, nothing is built in as a negative experience. And I even had like a emotional experience not too long ago, and I could have looked at it as a really, really horrible thing. I could have really like rejected the whole experience and said, nope, I don't like that. But instead, I was like, what did this teach me that I otherwise wouldn't have learned? And it taught me communication. It taught me how to communicate better, more efficiently, how to not run away from my fears or my problems, but to face them, to work them out, to not want to hide in a corner, but to express and to continue to talk and work things out instead of clam up. And so in every given moment, even if you perceive it as not your preference, it can still serve you in a way that you do want to be, in a way that you do prefer to learn from, and for it to be of service to you in some way, shape, or form. So I hope that that is helpful. And if any of you guys, again, want to connect with me, it's just at Rooted Wise Woman, Instagram, Facebook. YouTube is River Kayla Mason, and Kayla is Kaila. Kayla is my birth name, and River is my preferred name. I received that name from my ancestors, spirit guides, and higher self, and that is most resonant of me. So yeah. And again, if any women want to learn more about my coaching program, it's going to be launching in 2 weeks. So you can always email me or send me a message or DM me or what have you. But everything is at Rooted Wise Woman or rootedwisewoman@gmail.com. So thank you all. And I hope you have a fantastic now moment because everything is here now. So, alrighty. Take care.